Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Guile here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. It's pro-level ladder on the cards, you lucky people, this afternoon. Exciting stuff, I'm sure you'll agree. And the best news is there's no news, so we can go straight to the action, which is going to take place on Open Palms. I'm ready, you guys are ready, and the players are sure as hell ready. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how they're going to get on. Ching, ka-ching. Instant loading, it's always going to be a good one. Let's check out our players, because we sure as hell know what the map is doing. Up here at the top left, we've got hazer99. He is going Seraphim in baby blue, and he's opening first land. And his opponent for the day down here going naughty Cybrin. It's P0P0LIAK0V, and he's opening first land as well, as we got a split screen to examine their glorious green and pleasant openings. And you guys can spy on the best meta of the day for this map of how to open. So Hazar has queued up 4 P-gens, and if we just take a look there, oh, he took them all away for a second, so he's queued up 3 P-gens, then he's going to get 2 mass, then he's going to get the 4th P-gen, then he's going to get 2 more mass extractors, and then going to get that second land factory. P0P0LIAK0V taking a slightly different tack. His first 3 P-gens are going to flank that first corner mass extractor. It's going to give him an adjacency bonus and a power reduction when he comes to upgrade that bad boy to Tech 2. First engineer off the bat goes straight as for a beeline for that Hydro. I'd be astonished if we don't see the same sort of thing from Hazar. I am astonished. He's sending that out towards the mass field on the right. So there you go, slightly different tack there. What's happening with the other one? He's not even making a beeline for it with his second one. He's actually getting the mass field in front of his base there. It's engineer number 3 who's going to make his way over to the Hydro to try and pick that up. So we could end up seeing perhaps a slightly more advanced build program for P0P0LIAK0V, who's already a third the way through his Hydro, but slightly more mass collection for hazer99, who's at 1.1k versus the 1k there for P0P0LIAK0V, although that is evening out very quickly indeed. And in fact, P0P0LIAK0V just overtaking him. So our Russian-sounding friend, I have no idea if he's Russian, Eastern European perhaps, or of that position on the globe, has got the more efficient opening perhaps. He is down on generated eco by 2. But you can make your own mind up on who had the better run there, or who's got the better opening. It's all subjective at the end of the day, up to a point. P0P0LIAK0V gets the Hydro, brings his comm out, and goes straight after the air factory. And he's going to have his air factory done first, I would imagine. Indeed, Hazar only just finishing the Hydro and starting work on his air factory now, but has got 3 engineers on the task. I'm not seeing any lab play out from these guys, any early light assault bots from either player, so it's actually quite a defensive opening. We have got a Tham and a Len, over to the east, but that looks like it's just on engineered defense duty. It's not running off into enemy territory, it's just going to hang back and guard that position, as a similar little formation is taking place over here, over in the west. So we're not getting a major offensive plays actually from either side, and we're not getting any bomber first by the looks of things either. Out becomes the scout plane first of all from P0P0LIAK0V. That's going to fly overhead and get a nice view of Hazar's base. We do have an interceptor down here. His plane's operational first, of course, so no danger of getting shot down right off the bat, but there is now a defending interceptor for him to worry about. But the all-important early read has been captured, and potentially a little bit of a run-by into the backfield here from this Mantis and this Mole, pushing its way up the western edge of the map in towards the top corner. Little bit of micro back and forth there actually leads to P0P0LIAK0V picking off a Tham before his Mantis goes down. Nice work there. Both of these guys now pulling their commanders forward to different edges of the map. Looks like Hazar's going to station down on the western approaches. P0P0LIAK0V's going to take the east. Usually they funnel all of their spam initially straight away to the opposite side to help defend that position. But by the looks of things, P0P0LIAK0V funneling everything to both sides almost equally. Looks like he's got a little bit of a run-by attempt going on here that's going to skirt the edge of this plateau. If he gets in far enough could take out this engineer or this position over here, although by the time it gets there, it might have a point defense to worry about. That engineer's got that queued up, but he's still got 2 or 3 mexes to go, something like that. 2 mexes to go before he starts work on that, and they are already halfway there from the last time we checked. So probably going to get an engineer killed there at least. And in fact, if you look on the mini-map, I know we've moved down here, you can see P0P0L1IAK0V moving on that position with his commander as well. Meanwhile, over here in the west, Mantis backing up slightly. Only a couple of THAMs left to worry about. He's got more than enough forces in the area to take care of that, and a circling scout overhead. He does manage to get a couple of units into the backfield over here, P0P0L1IAK0V, but no engineers kicking around back here yet for him to get the better of, and in fact doesn't even manage to take out the THAM. That tank gets the last blow, but P0P0L1IAK0V being very aggressive with his comm, moving straight up and not messing about. He's going to get in and take control of those mexes right off the bat. 4 Mantis, now 5 there to assist. Another couple of mexes vulnerable over here also. Vulnerable engineer about to get himself gunned down. THAM gets the kill. That's going to cancel work on that last mass extractor down here. Of course, by pushing up to take that corner, he has left this position slightly vulnerable, so hazer99 capitalizing on that, just sending forces straight in between these 2 positions over here. He's also managed to get an engineer on the middle plateau as well. Engineer moving in from P0P0L1IAK0V is not going to make it as he runs into a couple of THAMs. And now it's time for Hazar to advance with his comm down here in the bottom left. P0P0L1IAK0V will want to try and skirt around the comm with his force over here. I'm wondering what his intel is like. Well, he's got a circling scout plane, so he's got all of the intel he needs. Gets in around the edge away from those THAMs as well. Should potentially be able to cause some problems for these mexes, or better yet, maybe get in around the back to cause problems in deeper territory. THAMs rolling in to that eastern position. Still a gap that P0P0L1IAK0V hasn't managed to plug. A little bit early. I was wondering if we've got any tech on the way. Not as yet. No one going for super early tech. There's a lot going on, of course, in the opening stages of an open palms. A lot of bases to cover. 4 mexes down at that position. P0P0L1IAK0V will be very happy with that result. And hazer99 will be very happy with this one. Runs into an engineer that was working on an auto gun. And now he should be able to finish off this position as well and maybe start throwing down some defenses. P0P0L1IAK0V still positioned up here, working on his second factory with a 3rd queued up over there. He's got a point defense. So a forward base right the way over here. Nasty placement. And quite a well-developed one at that. P0P0L1IAK0V making life very difficult indeed for his opponent early doors. And in fact, he's up a whopping 4K on total mass accrued. So he's really pulled out all of the stops in both reclaim and generated eco by the looks of things. Very well done there on that front. hazer99 will need to correct that ASAP if he doesn't want to find himself falling terminally behind. So P0P0L1IAK0V got a few units onto that central plateau, took out the position over here, but an engineer is still alive for Hazar, who's busy capping those Cybran mexes on the other side of the plateau. Wondering if he'll throw down a point defense. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. Help keep that engineer alive if he can. And P0P0L1IAK0V getting into that top left corner, and finally there is something for him to kill. He's been up there once or twice with some units, but there's never been anything there. Hazar moves in to scoop those mexes, and it costs him. Doesn't manage to secure it. There is, of course, a whopping Cybran presence up on this side. Very easy to funnel troops in around the back. first glance, it looks like something that's easy to defend, but it definitely isn't. Such a wide space for your opponents to squeeze troops into. But Hazar dispatches force with enough vigor. It's going to be able to secure that back corner. Now just moving in past the middle plateau. Pretty decent Mantis force moving in towards the main base of Hazar, who's rolling out his own defensive measures. A lot of THAMs showing up on the scene. We've now got two pretty heavy concentrations of core land units. We do have some artillery in there as well, though. That's a decent mix. Just missing some anti-air, which is a shame because we're at T2 air now for Hazar, who is starting to produce Volthu gunships, and that will be able to tear that little platoon apart. Mechs down in the center for Hazar, who is shadowing this force with his commander. Didn't manage to hold on to that bottom left corner. You can see the wreck of an old Seraphim factory, so he tried to properly establish himself but hasn't managed to hold it. So that's in stark contrast to P0P0LIAK0V, who has this position up here. And courtesy mention should be made about the bottom left set of plateaus as well, which is firmly in Cybran hands. One land factory there. We've got some anti-air, a radar, some point defense, and no one yet making a play for the top right. Actually, excuse me, we do have Cybran presence there as well, as two engineers make it up there. Must have had a distance build on the cliff edge, up the edge for P0P0LIAK0V. Must have thrown down a factory and now sending engineers up to cap the rest of it. But in come the Volthus, and they are going to town on this position. No anti-air to speak of. Have we got Sky Slammers in production? No, he's still producing Mantis for the time being. We do have interceptors nearby. They must have tangled with Hazar's. Hazar's down to about 5. And as a result, those Volthus are going to head for home. Has he got the anti-air in the main base to keep those interceptors away? Has got some T1, but Volthus are going to take some casualties here. Actually, that might end up going better for Hazar than I thought it would. Volthus on the ground have taken a bit of damage, but P0P0LIAK0V running out of planes now, forced to fight over the top of those T1 anti-air units. But check this out, Hazar absolutely mobbed down here. This could be an early exit at 12 minutes. Hazar at 6,000 hit points and plummeting into the yellow now. Very close to a rank in veterancy. Could do with that. A couple more kills should do it. And there it is. Gets a chunk of HP back, and in come the Volthus to try and thin this army out from the skies. Hazar about to plummet into the red, sub 3,000 HP now. This could be a disastrous outcome for Hazar, who looked like he was doing reasonably well with his transition to air. It's going to be very, very close. And P0P0LIAK0V runs out of units. Says die please in local chat. Hazar down to about 1,000 hit points, somewhere in that region. But with a combination of a rank-in vet and the emergence of those gunships, manages to make his way out of that situation. Frankly, looked highly precarious, and now the Volthus going to town on the main base of P0P0LIAK0V, who brings in his interceptors once again to try and cut down these gunships. They've spied the T2 land factory headquarters, and they are focusing in on that. That would be a devastating loss for P0P0LIAK0V to have to rebuild that, and he's going to have to rebuild it. Down it goes. Down go the engineers working on the T2 power generator. Definitely wants to take out that T2 engineer as well while he's there. But they've been producing flak. We've got a couple of mobile bangers that have turned up on the scene, so the Vulthus switch their attention to those. And I think that will be enough to kill off the rest of those air units, but he's got another problem moving in on the ground. Meanwhile, we've also got another problem moving in the opposite direction there from P0P0L1IAK0V, who's taken the opportunity to pounce on hazer99's base. We've got a bit of a base trade situation going on here. Massive land forces from both players in their opponent's base, just tearing things up. hazer99 not happy with his performance, says he's just a little bit slower in every regard. Well, he's not doing terribly. And if he's got a saving grace, well, I was about to say perhaps has got more enemy units in P0P0L1IAK0V's base than P0P0L1IAK0V has in his, but we do have a tech advantage on the ground. We've got the odd hoplite or so in there. We've also got Medusas, whereas by the looks of things, this force very heavily centered around the core T1 tank, the FAM, which of course will do a lot less damage to buildings. We do have some Zoes up here though, excuse me, so it really might just be a case of a comprehensive base trade. That is where everything has gone, but look at the map. Things really haven't gone well for Hazar. Lots of Cybran-held territory around the fringes of the map. Just wondering what's happened to the comm of P0P0L1IAK0V. Well, he's moved to another base he's set up over here. Hazar still has some factories, and he's got an engineer in here who's thrown down a point defense, and there are more engines over here working on more. This could be quite crucial. Hazar might manage to hold on to these factories. P0P0L1IAK0V rapidly running out of units, whereas Hazar has completely obliterated the main base of P0P0L1IAK0V on the other side of the map. So that could be telling. Wondering if we're seeing the start of a comeback here. P0P0L1IAK0V in the lead comfortably on eco-wide of things. He's almost at 2-1 and total mass accrued, 62k versus 34. But the elimination of the main base, that will really have hurt P0P0L1IAK0V. He's going to have to rebuild his Tech 2 land factory somewhere. The fact that he managed to hold on to engineers in here to rebuild some defenses while the main force for P0P0L1IAK0V moved to the back of the Nook to finish off these structures. That could be absolutely crucial. Seeing what they were saying. WTF is this game, says P0P0L1IAK0V. Well, it's certainly a little unusual. I think that was the right call by Hazar and P0P0L1IAK0V, though. They had an opportunity, and when Hazar's base, when P0P0L1IAK0V's base was getting mobbed down here, he responded by going straight after Hazar, but just didn't quite have the force to either take it, or he took his eye off the ball and wasn't able to kill off all of the build capacity in here to stop the defenses being re-established. And now we've got Hazar, who's still looking pretty peaky on around 5,800 HP, moving in towards the main base. He's even got engineers in here now scooping the mass, and that's absolutely crucial. He's got a lot of mass he can scoop in there. There's more mexes, and this is a highly defensible position as well, so we could have a situation where he is sitting on both of the Nooks. But we've got TAC missiles now coming out from this new forward base over here. What are they going after? They're going after the factories by the looks of things. And there's no T2 engineers in the area to be able to throw down any TAC missile defense, so he could potentially keep that spam up for a little bit, but he is sending them in lots of different places. The next target is down here, as we've got a few engineers working on a few other land factories at this position, potentially setting up some kind of mass T1 spam situation. This was where Hazar started re-establishing his power grid over here. Lots of T1 P-gens going up. And some Medusas up here just being dispatched to deal with that top left corner. Those pesky Cybran Sky Slammers can't decide if they're anti-air or anti-ground. So very irritating. Causing problems for that little position down there for Hazar, but Hazar does show up with his own task force, and that'll be enough to keep at least 2 of those mexes online. Unfortunately, we've got a real single file stream coming in from P0P0LIAK0V. He does manage to pick off a mex, but it does make it easier for FAMs to deal with, although I don't think Hazar's paying attention to that position right now. Probably because we've got a major counter-offensive being mounted by P0P0LIAK0V, who looks like he would like to take his main base position back. Hazar, though, has got his comm in here. He's repped up substantially, back up to about 8k or so. And he should be able to cut his way through most of this spam, which happens to be predominantly Medusas by the looks of things. So if he can stay on the move, it should be a lot of free veterancy for him. You can see he's not overcharging much, so can't have any power storage sorted after that last attack. Now we've got some T2 air on the field now for P0P0LIAK0V, who's got a Corsair up at the top, hovering next to that air HQ. And we've also got a pretty heavy set of production facilities down in the bottom corner now. P0P0LIAK0V really forced to the fringes after being ousted from his main base. Outer Rim versus Core Worlds typically doesn't end well for the Outer Rim, really, because that is where the lion's share of the eco predominantly resides. But for the moment, I think P0P0LIAK0V still comfortably ahead eco-wise, although it's jostling backwards and forwards quite heavily. It's 86 to 63 total mass accrued. That gap is closing, not surprising with all of the mass that Hazar has had access to after conquering this base. There's plenty more up here. That Tech 2 land factory is begging for a scoop, as P0P0LIAK0V tries to take the middle with a very large Medusa task force. Hazar sends in the Ilshivas to cut those apart, and he absolutely will. Rapid fire, chopping their way through those armies with little to no opposition. And a new attack brewing coming out of that main base from Hazar. Cheeky little drop in the backfield for P0P0LIAK0V. Going to pick off another mex, but doesn't move his own units in time, so won't manage to finish it all off completely. Just conflicts raging all over the map. But we're seeing a real concentration of T2 firepower now from Hazar. Those Ilshivas can be absolutely devastating. That position that P0P0L1IAK0V took so early on, now heavily under threat. But the main, well, sorry, not the main base, the new forward base for Hazar under temporary attack there from Corsairs, who move in, strike something, and get out again. Now we've got some anti-air going up en masse as Hazar tries to reinforce himself against future attacks. Ilshiva's still going strong, but several of them heavily damaged. Corsairs now inbound to pick off a few more. Pick off a few more they will, but they're going to run into some Ioshiva, who are going to make an absolute meal out of them. Going to want to bug those out, sir, and keep them alive, which he does. Solid decision. There's been another drop to the top left. All Sky Slammers, though. But it does seem like Hazar is solidifying his hold on the middle. The longer this goes on, I'm not sure why. It seems like P0P0L1IAK0V is still ahead, generally speaking, on eco. It's hard because it's jostling backwards and forwards. 81. He is. He's up by about 10 P0P0L1IAK0V on generated eco. But if you look at the kill-loss ratio, 0.78 for P0P0L1IAK0V, 1.23. So hazer99 has been massively more efficient with his combat throughout the course of the game in total than P0P0L1IAK0V has. And that is what is making the difference. He's killing a lot more than he's losing. Lone Ilshiva getting gunned down up at the backfield there. We still have attack missile launcher. We must have fired them recently, as it's currently empty. Corsair launching a few attacks over here in the west. Not sure how much he managed to take out. Certainly saw a couple of engineers die in the dust over there. Very sad. Before that Corsair got shot down. But the inclusion of these Ioshivas really hampering P0P0L1IAK0V's ability now in the air. Can he respond on the ground and make an effective counter push? Because this has gone on too long now. I feel like P0P0L1IAK0V is losing too much ground. He is going to have to make a play to try and get this back, or make another play up here somehow to get that back. But with the elimination of his base up here, there's nothing in the area that looks like it's even remotely capable of launching an attack like that. 93 artillery pieces, 35 THAMs, and some 31 Ilshivas. $18 Medusas for P0P0L1IAK0V, and 26 lowly Mantis. And we've got 5 Rhinos by the looks of things, and 13 hoplites. I don't like the way this is going for P0P0L1IAK0V, who a while ago looked like he potentially had this game wrapped up. Finding himself now cowering under shield gens over here. He's got some defenses. But pressure is certainly mounting. Artillery trading blows down here. interceptors battling over here, but by the looks of things, Hazar with the initiative in the air. How are we on interceptor count? Actually, P0P0LIAK0V probably ahead. 24 interceptors there for Hazar and 65 there for P0P0LIAK0V. But time for Hazar to test the defenses as he moves in with his an assortment of T1 and T2. Picks off a Cerberus turret. P0P0LIAK0V scooting out around the back edge of his shield as his forward position getting absolutely mobbed by Ilshevers. The shield collapses. And despite there being Cerberus turrets back here and in the middle and some T1 PDs, this base just isn't going to survive this attack. Ilshevers rolling in, targeting the point defense first of all. They're trying to outlast the defenses and then finish off the important structures. They've got all of the shield gens now. 3 Cerberus turrets remain though. They're going to want to finish off that T2 power gen surely. Units from around the back of the Nook there from P0P0LIAK0V trying to make a difference, but he knows he's beaten and Control K's his comm. Hazar says, what a meme game. Not exactly sure what that means, but very well done from Hazar. It really didn't look like he was in play there in the first half of that. It looked like P0P0LIAK0V had the initiative, but it was all about that base trade that definitely went well for Hazar, just managing to hold on to those extra structures on the outside while P0P0LIAK0V buried himself deep towards the core mass over here. By the time he got back out, the engineers that hadn't been killed off had erected new defenses, and that was the end of that. Conversely, of course, the entirety there of P0P0LIAK0V's main base wiped out in a very successful attack from Hazar. And yeah, he never got back in. It was just incremental chipping away there at his lead. And of course, check out that kill-loss ratio. It's only gone up from the last time we mentioned it. 1.35 at the end there compared to whatever it was, the 1.23 when we first mentioned it. Very well played from Hazar. Definitely deserved the win. Hope you enjoyed that, guys. There's always more to come from me in the future. Don't forget, if you've seen all the content and you want more, there is the Patreon. It's only $1 a month, which really is, can't say fairer than that. It's a pretty decent deal. We've got, I think, 24 or 25 casts on there at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to get one out this week for the Patreon cast, purely because my kid's had his tonsils out today. Not today, sorry, this week, and he's in an absolute state. So finding the time to get this done has been difficult, but I know you guys understand. I shall get more content out for the YouTube channel and the Patreon next week. But until next time, guys, this is Guile signing out.